she said, just trust me. And I do, and I did. So, you know, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here.
She's reaching out, she's connecting. She's frankly one of the bravest people I know.
I spent decades not saying anything. Now I finally have a voice. My name is Samantha Wan, U.S. Army, served from 2003 to 2013, and then again 2019 to 2021. Once I got my citizenship, the military allowed me to pick a plethora of jobs because I had the test scores to do so. And so that's when I picked Signals Intelligence Analyst. When I switched over to cultural support team and like military intelligence, I mean, that was probably the highlight of my career.
Its purpose was to allow women to support Special Forces, Ranger Regiment, and other Tier 1 operators at the time in Afghanistan to engage the women and children on target.
I definitely looked at it as another challenge, another way to prove myself, to show my worthiness.
Sam is the epitome of the special operations, which is a quiet professional. You know, she was humble, could beat most of us in the physical fitness side, and was very good and capable and competent under pressure and in high stress situations. She was exactly what they were looking for.
You know, looking back on it now, I feel like I was very dissociated doing that. I feel like I was performing a version of Sam that was going to get the most accepted, the most rewarded, the most praised.
You know, our job was presented as a little bit of a fluffy, like saving the women and children, and the reality was we were going on target to get information, and however we could get that information is what we were going to do, and that meant violence.
I definitely struggle with moral injury because those memories don't go away. Some of the things that we did out there, I'm not proud of. I really searched for a way for me to disconnect and, you know, have some type of peace. And it was art that I found back in the desert. So using chalk to scribble on the plywood walls, and eventually that turned into paint. And that's when I decided that I would get out of the Army and go to art school. Transitioning from active duty to civilian life was putting on a different uniform and going at the same speed. That was being maintained by my substance use. But I was also accomplishing a lot, so people didn't see that I was actually breaking inside. When I finally realized, like, hey, this self-medicating thing really isn't working, I need help, I reached out to my social media platform and shared, because I'm like, I don't know how to deal with this. But in that, a veteran reached out to me and she introduced me to peyote, or my first psychedelic medicine. Little did I know it was going to transform my life. As I was trying different psychedelic medicines, what was lacking was my integration. So I would relapse because I was just going back into my old life, going back into my old routine.
She had done a lot of work to heal her trauma, and she was doing a lot better, but she was still dealing with some substance abuse issues, and Ibogaine is particularly effective for addressing addiction.
When I finally did Ibogaine and was able to pause from that lifestyle long enough for me to change my habits, change my routine, that's what really made the difference.
When I met her, she was very guarded, she was reserved, and now she's a lot more present, more open. She seems more comfortable in her own skin. So it's been beautiful to watch her transform and flourish in that way.
Sam got to psychedelics before I did, and I had stayed in the military much longer than Sam did, and when I got out was having a very hard time and was actually at the point of suicide, and she happened to just randomly call me, and she said she could get me to Mexico within the next 2 months. I didn't even ask any questions, and she just said, I just trust me. And I do, and I did. So, you know, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here.
She's willing to put herself out there and say, hey, I've done this, and it saved my life, and it changed my life, and it's going to save your life and change your life. And it's just absolutely critical now as we continue to have these discussions on plant medicine.
DAV has supported me in a multitude of ways, providing a platform that I feel comfortable being vulnerable with, to fully share without any filters, and to feel supported in a way that I'm allowed to do that. People reach out like, hey, thank you so much for sharing this. It inspired me to share mine, or like it inspired me to go seek treatment or help or find out more information about certain therapies. And so I started noticing that it's a way of being of service.
Sam Wan having the courage to share something that's so difficult, that's so intimately personal, both her military experience and her experience with plant medicine, is changing the face of the veterans community when it comes to plant and psychedelic medicine.
What she's doing is a radical act of courage. It helps to disrupt the stigma around these compounds and around the suffering that a lot of veterans carry silently.
That is the only way we get more veterans to the help that they need, because we can't call everyone, but Sam being a voice and being a lighthouse to show to other people that there is another way is truly just incredible.
I spent decades not saying anything, making sure that everyone thought like nothing was wrong. Now I finally have a voice, and might be shaky at times, but if I can be authentic and share my lived, embodied story, and if it can help one other person, it's worth it.